Hi, my name's Matt, and this is the Pressure Proof Creative podcast, the show where world-class creatives come together to drop the mask, burn the bullshit, and get real about the pressures, the pains, and monumental uncertainty of generating genius on demand. Like, subscribe, and comment to show your support. Hey Angus, thanks for joining us today on the Pressure Proof Creative podcast. It's brilliant to have you here today.
Well, thank you for asking me, Matt. It's good to be here.
So, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, could we just start basically by telling us who you are, what it is you do, and what it is you most enjoy about what you have been doing in the past and what you enjoy about what you do today?
Yeah, I mean, the top line of what I'm doing at the moment is I've recently swapped being a creative and leading an advertising creative department for moving into the talent space, headhunter, creative recruiter. It's a bit weird. All the language is a bit rotty, but yeah, I've moved into a space where I help people to find the good creatives. I thought that was it's an interesting space. A space I think is really important to the industry, and I'll come on to that later about why. But yeah, I was a creative for about 22 years. Started in 1999, quite late. I didn't do an advertising course. I did 3 D&AD workshops, went through 3 partners. The third partner worked really well. That was Paul Jordan.
Yeah.
I worked with for 20 years. And we started out at an agency called DMB&B. Did a one placement there, not for very long actually. We were a placement there for about 12 weeks. We were lucky enough to win in 1999. We won the Cannes Young Creative Competition,
right?
Which was the judge to be the best creative portfolio of that year, and got sent to Cannes, represent the UK. Blew our minds. We were just so excited about that. I don't think we did have the best portfolio in the country at that time, but it was the most different. I think that came about from not being on advertising courses. Our book felt very, very different.
Interesting.
But it got us a job, landed us a job quite early, and stayed at DMB&B, that became Darcy, merged with Leo Burnett. We spent a couple of years after that at Abbott Mead Vickers, which we loved. And then 4 years at Wieden+ in London, was a CD. And then we left to be ECDs of Dentsu London, which at the time was only about 22 people. And we joined and didn't own any of it, but had a go at the controls, running a department. It was pretty full-on crazy time. But being an ECD for 9 years, I think I realized that such a really big part of the job is finding talent.
Yeah.
And whenever we hired well, it made a huge difference to the department, but also the agency itself.
Yeah.
I think most people most ECDs and CCOs will spend like maybe 5%, if they're lucky, of their time looking for talent. I was spending 10 or 15% of my time looking for talent. We'd come from Wieden+, so we knew what good people were like. We'd have conversations with them, and they didn't, we'd have great conversations, and they didn't want to come to Dentsu, which later we renamed as McGarry Bowen because everyone thought we were Japanese. But we'd meet brilliant people, and they didn't want to join us, and we realized you had to work really hard to hire good people into a sort of an unknown entity, an unknown agency. But yeah, worked really, really hard at that. Hired some good people. In an unknown agency, we hired Jim Bletzas, who was time head of design at Mother, Kevin Chesters, who was joint CSO at Wieden+. And, over the years, teams like Dave Wigglesworth and Ed Redgrave Jess Aldott and Matt Leach. I mean, that's like we made some hires that weren't great as well, but like learned a lot about how to try and tickle people into an agency like that. And it's just a part of the job I really enjoyed. And at the back of my mind, I was like, I don't know why there's no creative directors helping with this. And it was just an idea stewing at the back of my mind. Why is there no CDs helping find the creatives? Because it's quite an unusual, being a creative they're all a bit weird and they have their strange motivations. And when you've done the job, I think you understand them. And it was just stewing at the back of my mind. And then fast forward 9 years, I kind of got lockdown happened. I kind of got sacked or made redundant, sort of pushed out by a new CEO came in, which is probably right for the agency and probably right for me. But at that time, I was like, well, do I try and get another job, another similar job, or do I do something different? And this idea had been stewing at the back of my mind. So I had a sort of payoff, a financial cushion. So I started Those Creatives, which was, creative search by creatives, and been doing that for the last 5 years. So that's where I am.
Amazing. So how come you stayed at the last place you stayed there for like 9 years, but the other places were like 2 years, 4 years kind of thing? What made you stay? What was the draw?
It was kind of like, it felt like hours, and we arrived, and almost like the first thing that Paul and I did was we replaced the entire creative department with people that we knew.
Wow.
The agency was losing an awful lot of money at the time, which they hadn't told us, which is a classic creative thing, to go into an agency and not ask questions like that.
Yeah, totally.
And so the first thing we had to do was like try and break even. When we worked out that it was losing money, it was a bit of a shock. But by then we'd hired loads of people that we loved, so we couldn't really leave.
Not cheap people either.
We couldn't really leave. And in the early days of Dentsu and Gary Bowen, it was like a funded startup, funded startup. That's what people would. That's how we'd sell it to people.
Right.
And it was fun and good, and we were in charge, and we were left alone by the network that ultimately owned us, which was Dentsu. And that's how we sort of hired people. We'd say, come join us. We don't know what we're doing, but we're left alone, and we're not going to get out of business, and we're going to just pitch for good clients. We don't need to pitch for giant things like Wix.
Yeah.
We're going to pitch for what we want, and we're going to do it the way we want. And that was quite compelling to people. So over those 9 years, we started out fully in control, and we broke even after a couple of years, and we had, a purple patch where we were like winning everything and making work and winning awards actually. And it was good. And then slowly we started to lose control of it a little bit. The more success we had and the bigger we grew, the network sort of got their claws into us and wanted to be more involved. And then we sort of, and that was a tough transition. When that started happening, that's when Paul had enough. So Paul went and left, and I stuck with it. And towards the end, it was kind of a bit dysfunctional. I think that in that 9 years, we'd had 6 different CEOs. So but my nature is to try and make things work and please and do my best. And I think that 9 years was probably too long. I probably should have left, but right. I was still trying to make a go of it. So when it happened, I understood, had a chat. It was about 3 months after lockdown happened. Still a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
It never happened to me before, but it was like, do you really want to be here, Angus? And I was like, I know what that means. You want me to go, which was looking back, it was fine. I was kind of okay with it at the time. So yeah, it's just one thing that I used to say to people when I used to make them redundant is it always turns out for the best.
Mm,
So I've always seen people when they lose their jobs, they go from here to this new thing and they end up in a better situation. And I
yeah.
genuinely believed it, but I'd never really lived it.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. I think it's true. I think that it happened to me. I think I've ended up in a much better place where I'm in I'm in control of my life again, which I love.
Because you've done amazing work, obviously through your career and stuff. You're not like a shit creative who decided I need to do something else because I'm not able to do the great stuff. You've done that. You've done famous work. You've done awarded work. You've done work that people would be generally jealous of and say, "I wish I'd done that." Do you miss doing that? And two, how did you kind of square that off in your own head that you were not going to be doing that anymore? How did you shift your identity essentially, and why?
I It is a shift in identity. It is a shift in status as
Mm,
well. I think that I was okay. I was okay with it. I kind of wanted to try something new. Um, I found it harder and harder to sort of like the way that things were going. It was harder and harder to do. I saw less and less brilliant work. I
yeah.
do miss it, but yeah, it was just I'm going to just try something different. I was quite excited about that. But yeah, I there was another thing that I thought, which was like I had meetings with other agencies about being their ECD, and I wasn't being offered things like, Mother, I wasn't getting offered,
Mm,
understandably, any of the good jobs, really. Um, they were all pretty dysfunctional agencies, and I was like, I could feel it in my stomach. I was a bit like, I'm not sure that I can do this. I've just had a really tough 9 years. But what I will do is I'm going to do this new thing. I'm going to, if nothing else, work out who the really good creatives are. So if in 2 years' time I go back to being an ECD or a
clever.
CC, I will understand that landscape better than anybody.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, it felt like a bit like I was insuring myself. And it's a landscape I wanted to understand. I had everyone's got a network of people that they know, but it's very, very small, I think.
Mm.
Um, Mine was too, and I wanted to expand that network. So yeah, at the back of my mind, I was thinking I might come back into this. Um, I haven't wanted to be honest.
No need.
But I do miss the creative work. I do miss the set. Missing. There aren't there aren't always great projects, but every now and again you get involved with a really good project,
Mm.
and very exciting. And there's a sort of a closure to all those projects that I miss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you get a good brief, you do some good work, it gets bought, you work with a good client, you make it with good people, and suddenly you've got something that's fantastic, and then you sort of celebrate the birthing of this thing, and then there's closure. I don't really
yeah,
have that closure so much
yeah,
anymore, and
yeah.
I miss that. But yeah, I sometimes think maybe I could still go back, but I'm kind of quite excited about what I'm doing. And I haven't really felt like I've, ever come close to actually talking to anybody about another job. So I must be reasonably happy.
I think it's a brilliant idea. I mean, who knows creative is better than the creative kind of thing, and who knows what they need and where they're best placed.
Yeah, I think for me it's really important, and I when I talk to creatives, I can sort of like I can see through them and read between the lines and
Yeah,
see into the soul, and like I say, I understand like where they are and how good they are and where they want to be and how they might be able to get there. It's a complicated uh, dynamic, um, and I think very hard to really understand creatives unless you've done it. Now, there are other recruiters and people in this space who are brilliant and do a great job. I think it really helps to have done the job.
Yeah.
Like I've got clients clients that trust me, like Google and YouTube, who sometimes ask me to find them strategists or producers. And I'll sometimes have a go. I do say that's not my speciality, and I'll sometimes have a go. When I'm talking to a strategist, like I know where they've been, I know if it's a good place, I know if they've won an APG, I know that they're nice people, but when they're talking to me, I'm not sure if they're bullshitting me. I don't know what they're really, it's hard to read them. And I realize that's what it's like for most people talking to a creative, and only when you've done the job can you really see through them and see into what they're after. So that's the way I kind of like, I think it's really important to have done the job. And and if you understand them, that's the best, you can help them. And like part of what I do is I try and be generous with my time, help juniors and mids, especially, to sort of like help them with their book, help them make a plan as to where they might, how they might get to those agencies they want to get to, which is usually very similar. It's the usual. And sometimes my job is to point out to them there's a real value in some of those other agencies. There are some great agencies and great people that aren't Mother, Wieden+, and Uncommon. You know what I mean? And sometimes I have to. There's a real value in me explaining to them the benefit of going to some of those agencies and which ones might suit them. So yeah.
I think they're really lucky because they've obviously got a recruiter and someone who's doing that side, but they're also getting creative direction as well, which is really unusual.
I think so. Yeah, I think that is what I would have liked. If it was a midweight team, I would think we all, get crits from good people, but also someone that can, like, I'm constantly talking to different agencies. I'm constantly talking to different creatives, and I'm, I have a sort of a helicopter vision of that landscape now in the agency world, and I think most people can be quite narrow in the way they think about things. So yeah, I can help them think differently about some of these agencies and open their minds up to some of those other agencies. But yeah, it's like creative directing them. Sometimes it's like things. I just recommend they take like one thing off of their portfolio website, which is like, or make little changes that can just materially change the way people will view them. And I hired a lot of people, and I know what that process is, and I know how important certain things are on a website, and I can help with that.
Yeah.
But I also talk about like next, like what's, yes, you might want to get to Mother, but you might not be able to go there directly. What have you got to do next in order to get to Mother if you want to be Mother?
Yeah.
And help them to formulate a little plan. So yeah, it is creative directing a little bit.
Well, it is, with the largest creative department on earth.
Yeah, and it's weird. Half my conversations are like, I used to be a creative, and I can, and the other halves are like, I used to be an ECD and run a department. I'm talking to the bosses. I think that, not all the CCOs and ECDs that I work with sort of get how I can help. I feel like I can. My cheesy line is that I'm trying to be the creative recruiter that I wanted to work with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That really has my interests at heart and understands the culture of my agency and the type of creative that I like. And everyone's after the best possible creatives. They want better creatives than they should get. That's what I was looking for. I didn't want the creatives that wanted to work at McGarry Bowen. I wanted to work the creatives that didn't want to work at McGarry Bowen. So, I wanted to get them. I wanted to get a couple of years of their time before they went on to better places. And didn't want the ones that wanted to work for me. I wanted the ones that didn't think that they wanted better. if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I think it's great because then you get to grow them and stretch them and stuff and get the great things out of them.
Yeah.
Think it's brilliant. So what is it? What was it like coming through the ranks when you started out and you kind of were doing all the work then? What was the pressure like? Did you ever feel the pressure? Was it ever stressful for you, or was it a bit of an easy ride?
No, it was a lot of it was always a lot of pressure, I think. I think that's that's the nature of the job. You've got to come up with good ideas to a deadline, and the agency will put pressure on you, and you'll put pressure on yourself. I think Paul and I were like, our nature was that we were both very, very competitive. We had a bit of a chip on our shoulders that we hadn't been to,
Great.
done a course, and we felt like, that we were going to try and do everything. We were always trying to think of different ways of having an idea, and that creates a different kind of pressure as well. But the secret that we had was that we weren't amazing creatives, but we worked really, really hard, and that was a stick we used to beat ourselves with. Like, we used to work very, very long hours, and we got addicted to that because it started to work. It was working for us.
Yeah.
And we would work. It was always like, we'd always be like the last to leave. And it was always like, should we just do 2 more hours? Let's do 2 more hours. Let's do 2 more hours. Because we got in a habit of those extra 2 hours, we always came up with something good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we would always be trying to do another 2 hours. And we were both up for it. And it worked for us. But we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We really enjoyed the competitive nature of the way you competed with other teams.
Yes.
And we wanted to win. And we always felt like, we never felt like, I don't know. We always felt like we had to work harder than other people. So we would I look back and, like Christmas parties, we missed half of our Christmas parties because we were working, and we were
Wow.
wasn't that time? Yeah, that was I regret that. But we would just find ways to beast ourselves. There was one time we were working on we're only about 3 years in, and we were working on Fiat Multipla, which was a car launch, a new car for Fiat. And it was about 10 o'clock at night, and we were working on it, and we couldn't crack it. And we were like, oh. And there was a pool car. They'd lent us the car agency.
Yeah.
So we got hold of the keys at 10 o'clock at night, and we were like, let's drive around the M5 until we think of something brilliant.
Brilliant.
And we got in the car at 10:30 at night, and we drove around the M25 until about 3 in the morning. And we sort of had enough, and then we gave up. But by then we thought of some good ideas. That's what we would do. We would just try and push ourselves. So we had some success, and we became addicted to probably bad habits, one of which was working really hard. That was pressure. In terms of the agency, I don't know, looking back, there was so much less pressure than there looks like there is now. Like now it's dreadful. Back then there was more money, there was more time.
Yeah.
There were more teams on every brief, and it was an absolute joy. I mean, you were a creator around that time, and start of the 2000s. It was fun.
Yeah.
There were gaps in your schedule. You were allowed to
live.
to live, and that was it was. I feel very, very lucky that we were there then. When you compare that to what's going on now, it's like it's chalk and cheese. It looks very, very hard now, but there was pressure then. But I think a lot of it was self-imposed by us at the time.
To do great stuff. Did it ever affect you negatively, the pressure you put on yourselves, or was it just because you were doing what you loved to do and it was working? Was it not negatively affecting you?
I think it did. I think before we had families, before I had little, young family, we were pretty cool with working those long hours. I think by the time I got to Wieden+, it was we both had newborn babies. And I think our family life suffered a little bit with those. Well, not a little bit. It definitely suffered with those long hours,
Yeah.
and I regret that. I don't think we ever really had like uh, a that tough a time mentally. I think because we had some success and we were doing all right and making some nice agency moves and making some nice work. I think that made it feel like it was all worth it.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it was towards the end. It became, I think, when I was in when I was running a creative department, that's when it was really, really tough. And um, I used to, there was a period where I used to just sneak away and meditate. I had to
Mm.
meditate, calm my brain down. And I used to sneak away to the disabled toilet and meditate for 20 minutes just to bring myself down. It got that crazy and that fizzy. Um, but I think that, yeah, we were reasonably okay. I think Paul's had a big ADHD diagnosis
Right.
since then, and he was realizing that he was always dealing with that. Um, but yeah, the pressure, we handled it pretty well, I think. I think we
Mm.
handled it pretty well.
So how did it change then? So if it was a bit fizzy in the later time, what changed? Was it the responsibility of other people's jobs and livelihoods or careers, or what changed?
Yeah, it was looking to other people, like, being responsible for pitches, like
Mm.
period where there was I mean, 9 years we were like always pitching, and that's tough,
Yeah.
especially when you know we brought a bit of that like long hours work ethic into being ECDs as well, which again worked for us. So we became a bit addicted to it there. I wouldn't say we were a sweatshop, but there might be a few creatives that might say that we were a bit like we work long hours. There's nothing that's probably the worst pressure is being on a pitch and everyone working really hard and wanting to win it for the agency. You sort of need it to win it for the agency for morale, um, and then getting closer to that deadline. Doing pitch. I used to find that really like quite stressful actually doing the pitch. I realize now, I look back, and being in rooms full of people was always quite stressful to me.
Right.
Presenting in a pitch and dealing with those clients, and that was always quite stressful to me. So I don't miss that. But yeah, I think pitches were the most stressful, especially towards the end. I said like we lost a little bit of control, and the network would ask
Yeah.
us, they'd make us pitch for certain things by the end of it. That
Right.
became, I think, I don't know, you've probably got like theories around stress, but for me, it's like when you're not in control, I think that's a horrible feeling. When you don't have
Hugely.
agency over your time and your choices, that is the really tough part.
Yeah.
And that's what we didn't have towards the end of our time at McGarry Bowen. We were being made to pitch for things we didn't want to pitch for. Big media companies getting involved. It was just like suddenly like not in our. It felt like it wasn't in our control,
Yeah.
um, and that was really tough. Um, yeah, I think that the expression I use is the agencies. I always felt like the agencies owned me uh, and my time, and that was hard to deal with. And I think that's one thing that I really enjoy now is I don't
Mm.
feel obviously it's my own business, and I make my own decisions about how hard I work and when I work and who I work with, which is fantastic. And I think that's really beneficial to mental health, which again makes me worry about the conditions people are working in now.
Yeah.
It looks really, really tough,
Yeah.
and I don't think people have a lot of agency over a lot of their choices now.
Yeah.
Which
There's a really interesting model called the SCARF model, SCARF, SCARF. What it is, there's these 5 key points that if they get threatened in us, they trigger fight or flight, stress response, fear response, etc. So the first one is status. So if our status gets lowered or perceived to be lowered, triggers fight or flight. So see if they match across your experience. Second one is certainty. So if you lose certainty, things become too uncertain, you're not sure what's coming next, triggers fight or flight, stress response, threat response. The third one is autonomy. So if you feel like you're not in control of your own destiny, so you've lost your status, you're not as certain, now you don't even have autonomy over that, triggers fight or flight. Then you've got relatedness. How do I relate to the society, to the culture, to other people? Is there a good connection, human connection? And the fourth one, the F-bomb, fairness. Does this feel fair? And if that's triggered as well, then we trigger fight or flight, the threat response. So it sounds like status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. When those buttons get pushed, we kind of blow up. And vice versa, if we increase status, we increase certainty, we increase autonomy, we increase relatedness, we increase fairness, people end up going in flow states more often.
Well, Scarf kind of describes my last 3 or 4 years of it's like all those things got fucked, to be honest. Like they were like all over the place. I didn't have autonomy. I felt like I wasn't in control of the decisions that I'd previously been in control of, you know, and I should have left. I should have left. If I could advise myself now, I definitely should have left. But it doesn't surprise me. All those things you talk about. That's why I was in a disabled toilet meditating. It was all too much.
So how does that map across to what you're doing now? How does the SCARF model map across to that?
Well, status is a different, it's a separate thing. Like there is a shift in status. The expression I use is I used to be one of the most important people in an advertising agency, and now I'm the least important person in my kitchen. Which is, I spend a lot of time at home. I love that. But you go from someone who's, people will respond to your emails very, very quickly as an ECD.
To being ghosted.
To being ghosted. Like I'm trying to pretend that I'm not in the recruitment game. I'm just like, people don't want to hear from people that are like in the recruitment game, which I get, but it's a shift in status. I don't think a lot of ECDs or CCOs could really make the shift. I think I'm kind of comfortable with that. But all the other stuff that you talked about, what was it?
Certainty, autonomy, relatedness, fairness.
Yeah, I've got all of that. I've got bags of that, which makes me, very happy and content with my life. My life is unrecognizable. I like exercise and cook, and I contribute to the fact, I'm around, and that's that's a massive bonus. And also, like I enjoy having my own business. I mean, you've got your businesses. I wish I'd done it sooner. I do. I always say to people about the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s. It's like in your 20s you're learning, in 30s you're becoming good, in your 40s you're good. And I always tell people to just to be careful about working for agencies. Start your own thing if you can. Start working for yourself as soon as possible. I started when I was 49, 48. I wish I started earlier. Because what we do is difficult, and if you do it well, do it for yourself. Don't do it for other people that will ultimately get rid of you. I mean, it's just like that's how it works, right? They get rid of you eventually, and they don't really care about you. Another thing I say is you always work. It's like you limited. It's like Paul and I used to always talk about. We work for Paul and Angus Limited. That's who we work for. Because you can't be too. You've got to be pretty selfish and manage your own career and make sure that things that you're doing are right for you. Because ultimately, people will get rid of you. And they got rid of me, and it was pretty brutal. It was in lockdown. It was like they had that conversation with me, with the HR person on a video call in the week between my mother dying of COVID and me burying her. I
Fucking
mean,
hell. Well,
fucking
yeah,
like,
that's
and
brutal.
I was like, wow, is that? I've been in 9 years. Is that perfect? Is that the right timing for that
That's fucked
conversation?
up.
And just people, it's brutal, but like, and they don't care. People don't ultimately care that much about you. So you've got to keep that back in the back of your mind, I think,
Mm, yeah,
and make you do things, and I'm a big believer in starting, your own thing, and
yeah.
uh, you know, at some point.
Well, especially as you've got a creative brain, which is essentially a problem-solving brain, and then creatives are not worried that I'm not employable in the future. It's like, what, you're thinking that the world's not going to have problems in the future. It's like, find a big problem that people are willing to pay for, and solve it consistently and repeatedly, and
Yeah.
people will keep paying for you to do the thing.
Yeah, and creatives are like, it's a transferable skill. They can do all
Yeah,
sorts of things. They can start their own little mini agency, or they can start something else. And it's you know creative thinking. It's like Dave Trott's predatory thinking. It's like
yes,
you find ways to, you have got an edge.
mm,
Advantage to your creative approach to whatever you do is going to
yeah,
really help. And yeah, it's funny. There's a type. Uh, People lose their jobs a lot. Obviously, a lot of them get in contact with me asking
mm,
for help. So it is a strange one when like brilliant creatives that have been on, you know, 200 grand a year lose their jobs, and they don't understand. They can't even get freelance
yeah,
work.
yeah.
It's hard to watch. Um, and yeah, I haven't always got great advice for them, but about the ageism in this industry.
Yeah,
It's terrifying.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think it's good to back of your mind have a plan for your your 50s. You've got to sort of like have a sense that at some point you've got to look after yourself and
yeah.
think about what's next.
I mean, I hear a lot about when creatives are kind of like, they're thinking of, I want to do something else because I don't love what I do anymore. But they have this fear that I'm very one dimensional. I'm just a creative. This is all I've ever done. It's all I've ever known. Not being able to zoom out far enough to realize it's probably the best MBA anybody could ever do on the face of the earth. Because for however many years you've been in it, you've been surrounded by the elite talent of the world in so many domains of everything, essentially.
Yeah.
So people have got the ability to do so, but I think we also get conditioned as creatives. Probably happens in other departments as well, but I think especially in creatives, to never believe in our own self-worth. Because if we knew how valuable we were to the business, we'd have to get paid a hell of a lot more. So keep us insecure.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I always say to people, like, there's a huge, like, like huge, like, in-house agency sort of scene now. Like, it's like
Yeah,
every brand is starting their own in-house function. So I'm always saying to people, like, what do you love doing? Do you
yeah,
love running? Do you love cooking? Find your passion and go and work for an in-house, work brand side
yeah.
in
Do
what
the
you
passion.
love. Like, because you've got a massive advantage. You've worked in good places, and then you've got this passion, and you push those things together. That feels to me a brilliant like avenue that everyone should be like looking into. Um, if you love running, go and work for ASICS or
Yeah.
On Running or whatever that is.
What do you think?
Um,
Why do you think people don't do that? Do you think it's a perceived drop in status again? Like, yeah, but I was the big shot in advertising, and now brand side isn't as cool, or client side is not as cool. What do you think the handbrake is? Why aren't they doing that? Or why don't more people want to do that? Do you think, or feel they
I
can?
don't I don't know. I think people are like they spend their whole career in this. They see this like ladder of like agencies. I'm trying to get to a better agency, trying to get to a better agency, trying to get to a better agency. I think it's very hard to sort of like walk away from that like
Mm,
ladder, that security. And I think that people hang on to their jobs. That's exactly what I did. I was hanging on to my job
yeah,
that wasn't right for me. I couldn't read this. I couldn't read the signs.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was becoming a bit like I mean, toxic. So it was toxic for me, right? It wasn't a toxic place, but it was toxic. It wasn't healthy for me anymore. But I was sort of clinging on, and I was like, no, I think this next project could be really good, and this
Yeah.
next work could be great, and um, and if I leave here, it's going to be for another agency. So I've got this mental picture of what might be next. People struggle to, but having said that, like in-house departments, in-house studios, a lot of them are very good now. A
They
lot of
are
them are
now,
good,
yeah.
and they're and uh, I don't think that's really a drop in status. I think like
Mm.
a lot of people that I talk to are very, like from agencies, are very open to that now. Like a lot of people actually want out of the agency
Yeah, no,
still.
it's good to hear that they're
They're
kind of open.
intrigued by what's going on in-house.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, you just got to choose wisely, I think. And I
Mm.
think choosing on, don't go to an in-house agency if you're not into what they do.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd agree.
yeah.
What are you finding? Because you obviously talk to so many creatives of so many different levels and stuff. I mean, what are you hearing about them and the pressure that they're under now? You say it's different. What are you hearing? Obviously, confidentially, don't name names, but what are you hearing?
Yeah. They're like they're having a lot of people are having a tough time because there's on top of everything else, it's just like looming job insecurity that's
Mm.
just terrifying people. And people are losing their jobs. There's consolidations happening everywhere, and they're worried about that, and they're worried about AI, and they're worried about everything. On top of that, the agencies are trying to make money by loading people up with more work than they can handle, and it's particularly bad for the really good creatives, I think, because they're the ones that get more briefs than they. Every agency wants to just load those creatives up with too many briefs, and I did that when I was, in our Monday morning resource management meeting. It would be like,
Or
okay,
the best?
we've got this coming up. What's so and so doing? Well, they've got a lot on. Well, maybe we'll just show them the brief, see if they, just try and,
Yeah.
get them hooked and like get them, doesn't matter how much they got on. We need them, like, which was awful. So I was part of that. But that's going on everywhere, and people are burning out. And people are starting to make silly decisions and trying to make safer work because they're worried about their job. And the safer the work is, the more likely they are to become expendable.
Yeah.
And it's a cycle. What you need people to be confident and happy and have hope and believe that that the agency's got their back. To
Yes.
that's what you need,
Yeah.
and that's what I think that there was more of.
Yes.
Early 2000s.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think people really feel like the agency's got their back.
I think that's the key. I think that's a very, very
Yeah.
big key to it all.
So you end up going into a creative review, not with a couple of like, outlandish, imagine if we did this
Mm.
ideas. You come in and you go, I'm going to be useful. I'm gonna make sure that I crack this so that
Yeah.
but like, we don't want stuff just cracked. People want the creatives that will come in and do something special. It's
Yeah.
it's a weird, it's a weird cycle to get into of safe thinking. And
Yeah.
the safer you're thinking, the more unsafe you become, I think.
I think, ironically, yeah, 100%. I think you're
Yeah.
right as well. It's that the better you become, the success gets rewarded with more stress, more pressure, more tighter deadlines, more weight on your shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think people like that, like I talk about, there's a pressure on coming up with original things as well.
Mm.
Like you can always go into a review with three ideas that can get you through the review. But if you're really going to use your time to try and think of something that's never been done before, that's an added pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's what the best creatives are doing. They're always trying to think of something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And we learned that really, really early on. And I mentioned that we won that Cannes Young Creator competition it wasn't the best book, but it was a different book.
Yes. Yeah.
Back then it was 1999, and we were doing like, it was all like ambient ideas.
Oh,
So we were
right.
we were doing stuff on money and putting money into circulation, sticking things to the derelict shops for NatWest New Business. And it was like, it was interesting stuff. It felt different. And whenever we showed people the portfolio, they liked it. They didn't dismantle it and tell us what we were doing. We're just going, oh, that's good. It's interesting. So we took through our whole career. We used to say different is better than better, right? People, different is like, that's the game. Think of things that haven't been done before, and everyone will, including the people that ultimately, see it when it gets out in the wild. So, going into I don't know. It's just like, I think that's been slightly squeezed out of the industry now. It's like these amazing firms. Everyone's trying to do safe stuff, and the industry's suffering.
Well, I think you're right. In order to get security and to feel secure, you do the safe, secure thing. But the irony is, you become less secure and safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Have you got any regrets that you've done in your career that you would advise people coming into it not to do, or to be mindful of, or aware of?
Regrets that I did.
Yeah, is there anything you've done in the past you'd say, I wouldn't have done that, or if I came back into it, this is what I might have done differently?
I might have set a few more boundaries about like how hard I worked.
Yeah.
I think that especially when you've got like a young family, that's a tough one. I might be a little bit less in a hurry to claw my way to the next rung of agency. Like, I was only 2 years. We were Leo Burnett, and then we went to AMV. I loved it at AMV. It's the best place, most enjoyable place that I worked. They got it at a good balance of brilliant work and looking after you a little bit, caring about you.
Yeah.
But we were in such a desperate hurry to try and get to Wieden+Kennedy.
Yeah.
we were less than 2 years at AMV. We should have stayed longer. We were, Widen's wanted to hire us, and we were like, they want to ask us again. So we left, and we left too early. I would say, don't, try and recognize the bad things and try and recognize the good things, and read the signs. Like, we were in a good place, and we shouldn't have left. I think we left. There was a CEO called Farah at AMV, and she heard we'd resigned, and she had a meeting with us, and she said to us, she goes, what is it with creatives? Why are you always going to the dark place? Why do we make it hard for yourselves? Because we were like, we're going to go to Widen's, and we're going to learn how to be a team that's like does the digital stuff and all the above the line stuff and push it all together. And it's scary. And she's like, you're good here. We like having you here. We're giving you opportunities. Why are you leaving? And looking back, she was right. We probably should have stayed for a couple more years. So I think one of the regrets is like being just in such a hurry to get to the glamorous agencies. Maybe we sort of like gave up on some good situations a bit ahead of time, to be honest.
Interesting. Do you think there's any rush for people to get promoted too soon these days as well? It took us a long time. Like back in the days, it was like years to become middle and then senior and CD. It took a long time.
Yeah, I wrote something about this on LinkedIn not long ago, and it sort of blew up a little bit. And it was like, I think it was called "What's the Rush?" It's like, juniors are in a desperate hurry to become mids. Mids are in a desperate hurry to become seniors. Seniors to become CDs. CDs to run places. It's like, it's slow down. Just enjoy where you are at the moment. If you're a mid and you talk your boss into giving you a title of being a senior, it probably comes in place of money to spend. Number one, you're probably going to get bobbed off with a title and not get the money that you deserve. But if it's ahead of the time, it's like you go from being a really good mid to a not very good senior.
Yeah.
And suddenly you look at it and go, oh, you're a senior team, and you look at their work and you go, oh, you're not that good. What you do, just stay being a midweight for as long as you're getting opportunities.
Yeah, be shit hot in that pond and then move on and be great in the next one.
Exactly, because it will happen. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a good senior team, you will end up CDing,
Yeah,
right? But just enjoy it. Just you're in the making phase. You're fighting weight. You're like
yeah,
you're in your moment. Just keep making stuff and don't worry about being a CD. There's nothing great about being a CD. It's like, once you've been a CD, it's like a bit, it's okay. It's a bit painful, but being a senior is like magic, right? You're just
yeah.
making, you're just writing work and getting help from people and producing work, and it's just fantastic. So yeah, I think people in a need to slow down a little bit. I think it's
Yeah.
important.
Reminds me of that quote, don't be in a rush to grow up, it's a trap.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, yeah, I know everyone wants to be CDs. Like, oh. Actually, I met a team the other day that I bumped into them and they were like, we've worked it out. We go, we're a senior team. And they're quite old. They're going, we don't want to be, every time we try and flirt with being CDs, we're not very good. We're not very good CDs, but we're good. We're brilliant seniors. He's going, we just like work now. And he
Yeah.
goes, so we're trying to be senior creative directors. It's like, wow, that's really, you don't hear many people saying that. Going, I'm just really happy here. They want a pretty good salary and they were really good at what they do at this level. And they just became aware that they weren't great at the CD thing. So stop trying to push yourself into this. What is it? Is the position promoted to the position of least competence, or whatever it's called?
Yeah, yeah,
Just enjoy where you are for a bit. It's
yeah.
like, okay.
I would agree. It's kind of like Scorsese, kind of like doing amazing films and then going, actually, now I'm going to go to the back office, so I'm going to manage people. It's like, no, keep making films if you're fucking good at it. Don't stop.
Don't be a studio boss.
Yeah,
Films are great. Films are very good. Must be fun. Yeah, people are in a real hurry, and I think that's
yeah,
it puts it puts back to pressure. It puts a whole kind of pressure on yourself to, you know, um, progress
yeah,
at speed that might not be healthy, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. Well, psychologically, you're probably not even ready for it either because you haven't got the ability to deal with what you're about to face. It's hard managing people, and it's not always fun. In fact, it's not, a lot of the times it's not fun.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that, yeah, and it's a responsibility. You've got to worry about you worry about your own mental health, and then you're worrying about their mental health.
Yeah,
Are they happy? Are they getting opportunities? Um, I think about you and where you are and what you're doing, and it's like, could have done with you, could have done with you, like probably for Paul and I at one point. You've been a creative and you understand it in a way that no one else understands it. It's super valuable to chat about that stuff with
yeah,
someone who's doing a job. You're doing specifically like mental health and you've been a creative, and it's like perfect. It's like perfect. People are fucking broken
fucked.
in agency. They need you. They need you. Yeah, looking back, I think I probably needed some help with, managing the stress and managing the
Yeah.
pressure. So I'm glad you're doing it now. I'm glad you're there.
And well, what is it that you're doing next? I mean, do you want to talk about what you're doing next? Because you are doing something evolving again. Is that something you want to talk about or not yet?
Well, it's involved. It's the same. It's an evolution. So still doing the creative, helping people find creatives, but increasingly I'm helping brands and in-house studios to find micro agencies.
Yeah.
So there's more and more of those around now. Interestingly, people are like, often brilliant people are going, I'm going to set up on my own. I can do my own thing. We don't need an office space anymore. So there's an explosion of micro agencies, and since last year, I'm introducing brands and in-house studios to micro agencies, project by project. It's about casting. Each micro agency has a specialism, but yeah, So it's still casting and helping people to find good creatives, but it's just another lever people like brands can pull now. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's like great for big agencies. I mean, my feeling is that there's going to be ultimately there's going to be giant agencies and there's going to be very, very small agencies. And those agencies of 70 people like I was at, they're in a lot of trouble.
Mm.
I saw this morning Atomic have gone into administration. I mean,
Wow.
there's going to be more and more of that, which is awful. But like, yeah, I'm now helping people find, because like just because you're a small micro agency doesn't mean you're good. So I meet people, I meet them, I vet them, work out what they're good at, and then I introduced agency brands to those micro agencies based on
Interesting.
you need and those specialisms. So yeah, it's just another lever that these brands can pull now. Like sometimes it's freelance, sometimes you need a big agency, and in the middle, project by project, they might be able to just tap into a micro agency. So that's what I'm doing.
Brilliant. Brilliant. It's been brilliant chatting to you, obviously, today and before. Is there any like last bits of advice you'd give anyone moving forwards, and where can they get in touch with you if they wish to, and when they wish to, and they should do?
I think the biggest piece of advice is like, you work for yourself, you work for you limited. The best way to not be stressed is to take action, make your own things happen, learn like AI, just learn as much as you can about AI. Do you know what I mean? It's not a terrible thing, but it's like scary if you don't if you're not learning about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
learn as much as you can about it, and it won't, and you'll be like in the top 10% because a lot of people aren't. But like work for yourself. I mean, be selfish.
Yeah.
Don't be too unselfish for the agency you work at, because um, they may, if they need to, get rid of you at the drop of a hat. So always be thinking about yourself more than the agency. That sounds horrible, but
No,
yeah,
but I think it makes total sense, doesn't it? I mean, you get that's how you're going to create certainty and autonomy in your own life, even if you feel you haven't got it as much.
yeah.
I think it's a smart thing. I think you should always be doing it. You're always building your book. You're always kind of making connections. You always go out and meet people. I think it's a smart thing to do.
Always be doing extra ideas, your own creative projects. That's
Mm,
so important.
yeah,
And that seems to be suffering as well with how busy people are now.
yeah, yeah,
There's less time for them to do what we used to call plus ones. It's like those little extra ideas that you just want to make happen off your own back.
yeah,
They're usually the most interesting thing that you do.
yeah.
And because people are so busy, they're doing less of those. Always find time for that. Always find time for that, because it's good for your mental health. It's good for your professional, your career.
Mm,
They're often the things that people find most interesting about, your portfolio site. Are those like very telling self initiated ideas. So
agreed.
always do those two.
Agreed.
Um, yeah.
Brilliant. And where can people find you if they want to reach out and when they want to reach out?
Uh, Angus at those creatives.co.uk. I'm on LinkedIn. Uh, yeah,
Brilliant.
I seem to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn
Yeah, you
now.
do some very, very good stuff on LinkedIn. Everyone should
Yeah,
follow.
I write a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. It's become my creative outlet. I quite
Yeah.
enjoy that. But again, it's like that's back to the sort of, you were saying, it's like creative directing creative careers. It's like
Mm,
all the skills and all the sort of like hacks and the ways to handle like pay rises and moves, and that's what I try and sort of like dump onto LinkedIn.
I
And
think it's
hopefully,
brilliant. I think it's brilliant. You say you could use me back in the day. I could have used you as well. To be fair,
yeah.
it's been very useful.
Well, it's been great chatting. I haven't spoken this much
Likewise.
in like 5 years.
Welcome back.
So much.
It's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Well, Phil, thanks for showing up and thanks for coming onto the podcast and stuff. And good luck with everything moving forwards.
Nice one. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, mate. See you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Cut. Like, subscribe, and comment to show your support.